What was the diagnosis?
He said I had a grade 4 tumour. He did a fine needle aspiration, a scan and a mammogram at Little Aston Hospital in Sutton Coldfield, and told me it was a grade 4 and that I needed surgery immediately.
And what was that surgery?
I had a lumpectomy with huge margins removed, which he said was to save me having chemo and radiotherapy. And
is the truth, 15 years later, you still have no idea whether you had a grade 4 tumour, if you had cancer?
I had no cancer whatsoever. It was a piece of fatty tissue that should have been left in situ and monitored.
Victoria, he will be sentenced today.
Yeah.
What was his motivation, do you think?
I have no idea. I don't think it was completely financial. I think that he had some sort of ego, you know, that was... I was extremely grateful. He was a lovely man. He was always really kind to me. He was caring. When I saw him for 8 years, I always saw him. I never saw anybody else. Didn't see his registrar. I always saw him, and he made a point of seeing me. But every time he saw me, he told me I had a case of an aggressive form of cancer that would come back, not a case of if but when.
So in your mind, you just didn't doubt what he was saying at all, and he'd said to you, look, I can get you this operation straight away, it'll cost X amount of money, and you found that money because you were so desperately scared about what might happen otherwise. Yeah,
because he said to me, because I was only 32, that the rate that my cells were reproducing was twice as quickly as somebody of an older age, so that if I waited and went back on the NHS list, it would be a terminal diagnosis.
And you started preparing for the worst, didn't you? You were visiting relatives, you know, how traumatic a time was that for you?
It was extremely traumatic. My husband and myself talked about funeral plans, what to do next. We'd got 2 small children. I had one just diagnosed with autism. And Mr. Paterson knew all of this. I had an auntie who had died 18 months prior from secondary cancer in her liver from a breast cancer.
But he knew all that, and he also knew that he had formed a connection with you, that there was a trust and there was an admiration from you as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there was this kindness from him, and yet there was this hurt that he was determined to inflict. What way do you judge him now, 15 years on? What do you think of him?
I think there's something wrong with him. I think there must be something fundamentally wrong with him.
Now, we know that, you know, there are several people involved in this prosecution. You weren't one of those, but the feeling is that there are a lot more victims like you who haven't yet come forward.
Yeah, when this first came out, I spoke to people who had met him and said he was lovely and couldn't believe it, and I believe that there are still people out there who don't believe that this is true, that because he was such a lovely, convincingly lovely man and kind and caring, that they don't believe this is possibly true.
But, as you say, obviously sick, he will have to answer for his crimes today.
Yeah.
And do you think he had what is termed a God complex?
Yeah, definitely. I think he loved all the admiration that, not just myself, when you speak to other patients, that we all felt the same. You know, that he was a lovely man, kind, but he did, I think, revel in that admiration that we gave him.
Incredible. Victoria, thank you very much indeed for discussing your case and your situation.
We have actually got a statement from Spire Healthcare. Paterson worked there privately, and they said to us, what Mr. Paterson did in our hospitals absolutely should not have happened. They say, we'd like to reiterate how truly sorry we are for the distress experienced by any patients. We commissioned a thorough independent investigation and have fully implemented all of the recommendations. So that's the official statement there from Spire Healthcare.